Welcome to A Styled Life, the podcast for purpose-led female founders and senior leaders ready to use style as a powerful tool for confidence, impact and influence. I'm your host, Alex Standley, multi-award-winning personal stylist, speaker and sustainable fashion consultant with 2 decades of experience in the fast-paced world of fashion. Join me as we redefine success from the inside out. This podcast isn't just about clothes. It's about personal power, purposeful style, and creating a life that aligns with your values. So whether you're running a business, leading a movement, or stepping into your next chapter, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll dive into the world of personal style, sustainability, female empowerment, and living with intention through real stories, expert insights, and plenty of inspiration. Something I come back to again and again in my work is this. The way that a woman shows up physically is rarely just about her clothes. It's about how she feels, her energy, her sense of self, the gap between who she is on the inside and how she's actually experienced in the world. My guest today works at exactly that intersection from a completely different angle to me. And when I came across her work, I knew that we needed to have this conversation and share it with you. Jules Anderson is an energy expert and the founder of Audacious Aging, a philosophy and upcoming book about what becomes possible for women who approach midlife with intention and intelligence rather than acceptance or resistance. She has a first-class degree in chemistry, 20 years in design strategy, and 14 years working with high-performing women on the health and energy foundations that determine how they function, how they feel, and how they show up. Her work and mine land in the same place. We're just coming at it from opposite ends of the scale. Jules, welcome to A Styled Life.
Thank you. It's so lovely to be here at last.
I know we have had a few attempts at this, haven't we? Can you start by telling us a bit more about how you came to do this work? I think it's often a great place to start to understand, your big why and your mission and what drove you to kind of start your business and then to develop Audacious Aging is such an amazing phrase, which I absolutely love. So I'd love to know what that means to you and kind of where that came from.
Absolutely. Well, I've always been really interested in health and well-being. But as I've got older, I've realized the importance so much more. The narrative, however much you know around health and well-being, the narrative around aging is so negative and so disempowering. And we have this culture that's very glorifying youth. And then we've got all these industries that are making huge amounts of money from making women feel insecure about being a woman, about being an older woman, being a woman with slightly different weight or not. They prey on all these insecurities and they're making so much money out of it. And at the same time, for women, there's this feeling of disempowerment, of feeling not only anxious and insecure about your identity as in midlife, as you get older, against this backdrop that's youth obsessed. So what I wanted to do, when particularly with Audacious Aging, is create something that's more about women reclaiming their own health and their own authority and their own confidence in how bloody brilliant they are as an older woman, because we absolutely are. And yet we're in this culture that's glorifying a perception often of youth. It's not even a reality of youth, because you look at any of the amazing younger women, they're just as insecure and anxious.
Yeah.
So I wanted it to be, it's an attitude, but it's also a really practical approach for real women in real life. That's not this overly airbrushed Instagram perfection view of health and 14-year-old models selling anti-aging products. It's just ridiculous. So I wanted it to be something that feels very real for the real lives that we all live, which are complex and demanding. And we want to have an amazing life. And we're not our mother's generation. We're not our grandmother's generation. We have a very different way of life and we've got different aspirations. And again, one of the ideas behind it is however you want to age, whether you want to embrace your grey and embrace your wrinkles, or you want to bleach the heck out of your hair and wear a mini skirt, and go on big adventures. However you want to live your life will do it so much better if your body is really healthy, full of energy, and functioning really well. So it's practical, but it's practical for real women in real life.
I love that. And I think it's so often the case that we don't see that, you know, all of these kind of beauty ideals and these the way that we're sold to essentially as women and the societal conditioning, it is, as you said, all based around this completely unrealistic and, you know, just not real idea of what it is to age or what it is to be a woman or what it is to, it's this kind of idealized perfection that doesn't actually exist. I was just as a guest on a podcast this morning, and we were talking about it from a style perspective. And I was saying about, you know, it's never realistic, whatever the in trend of the moment is around your body and your beauty and your style. It's always quite extreme, and it's never real. It's never something that's attainable. And I think that's, you know, that's perfect as a marketing message, isn't it? Because you never reach that kind of goal of who you're supposed to be or how you're supposed to show up. And that just feeds that cycle of insecurity and feeling like you're not enough, and everything that, you know, feeds that marketing machine of you have to look like this and you have to be like this. That's what I love about your work, is that, as you said, it's for the real woman, it's for your real life. It's not for this kind of idealized version of what you're supposed to be and do and say.
Exactly. And that ideal life doesn't need to be less than. I come
No.
across so many clients I work with, as well as friends and colleagues. There's this sort of underlying anxiety that the best years of our life are over once we hit, and it's slightly different for everyone. Like, oh, once I hit 40 or once I hit 50, there's this feeling, this sort of nagging doubt and anxiousness. And it doesn't have to be like that. Life
No.
isn't the same, but it can be so rich and so rewarding. But we need to be really conscious of, I call it the OPAs, other people's agendas, because there is trillions of dollars of ad spend every single year trying to make us buy products and
Yeah.
agendas that are there to serve other people, not us. And so they're making an awful lot of money out of these things. And I think it's really important for women to get back that agency and clarity and be able to make those more judicious choices about actually to be able to drown out that noise, because it's really shouty out there,
Oh,
particularly in,
absolutely.
you know, in wellness and anti-aging and these, you know, these OPAs, these other people's agendas of, you know, you have to do this, you have to do that. You buy my product, go
Yeah.
do my program, buy my clothes. The same in the fashion industry.
Oh,
This
exactly.
is what you need to be acceptable. And actually, you kind of need to be able to drown that all out,
Yeah.
make your own decisions and have a bit of agency in your own life. And that's really important, because the thing that's holding so many women back, and it never ceases to surprise me, the unanimousness of the shame and self-judgment.
Absolutely.
And I work with women at the top of their careers, hugely accomplished, hugely successful, big city firms that on the surface look like they've got absolutely everything. They're super successful. And yet they'll tell me things that they're sometimes not sharing with their partners, best friends. Sometimes they're not even aware of it until
No.
we've had some conversations, and the sort of just the continuous drip of self-judgment about everything we do, everything we are, all the things we should be doing, all the things we
Yeah.
shouldn't be doing. And it's so constraining that when you can kind of just break free of all of that and just go, do you know what? I'm going to make my own rules here, but I'll make them based on, you know, we want to be intelligent about this, you know, we're
Yeah.
intelligent, bright, accomplished women.
Definitely.
And if we learn the right things and we learn what's important and what isn't, it becomes much easier to drown out that noise. And when you make those gradual changes, you start to build a bit more that deeper self-confidence that comes from knowing that, hey, I made that change and oh, do you know what? Actually, I feel a whole heap better.
Yeah.
It's all neural pathways being reinforced.
Mm.
And, it's not just positive thinking. It's,
No.
I've made that change. I recognize this. So it gives you back that power in your own
Mm.
life and being able to, again, just sort of drown out some of the noise that's going on in the world
Mm.
that isn't meant to, isn't designed to make us feel better, because
No.
it's self-perpetuating. It might cover up some superficial or solve a superficial symptom
Mm.
and give you momentary relief from something. But the
Mm.
more as women we come to rely on the masks and the outfits and the feeling we have to look a certain way or be a
Mm.
certain weight, so we have to go on the diets. The more we learn to rely on all these extreme aesthetic procedures to look
Mm.
fresh and young, it doesn't. On the surface, we might think it makes us look better, but deep down in our psyche, all it's doing is reinforcing the neural pathways that you're not enough,
Yeah, absolutely.
just as you are. I think you've got to bring the science into it and look at
Definitely.
facts to be able to, you've got to be able to walk a path that feels a bit more calm and protected
Mm.
from all this crazy noise that's going on all around you. Um,
Definitely.
yeah,
I
really.
think this is what has come up. I've kind of treated June on the podcast as a bit of a month around health and wellness and body image and body confidence. And so I've had lots of different experts coming at this from different angles. And I think the commonality amongst all of you has been ultimately self-trust. And, it is incredibly noisy out there. And it is, purposely in some ways to, as you said, take you out of your power and have you constantly second guessing and thinking like, I'm not good enough. What do I need to fix myself? And, all of those kind of narratives that keep us small and keep us out of our power. And
Mm.
ultimately, that's how I see my role as well, is that it's very much like drowning out that noise and bringing you back to you and your internal voice and you trusting that and trusting yourself. Because I've definitely felt it. And I resonated with what you were saying about the negativity around aging as well, because I think because of the role that I do and the women that I work with, I've been surrounded by, perhaps more messaging and noise, if you like, from an earlier time around perimenopause and menopause. And it actually left me feeling quite scared about, aging and all the things that are going to happen to me and my body and everything else. And then coupled with all the kind of wellness industry noise and everything else. And actually, if I really strip it back and come back into me and who I am gaining confidence and kind of that ease that comes with aging and all those wonderful things that come with like wisdom and knowing yourself better and all of those amazing things that we don't really talk about because that doesn't serve the purpose of, being sold to essentially. So there's that real kind of push and pull, I think, of that negative side of aging and, hormonal changes and that kind of thing, but also the really real beauty of aging and wisdom and knowing yourself better and self-trust. What do you see as like the most common patterns that, because I know you mentioned that you often get people coming to you and they share things with you that perhaps they're not even sharing with their closest friends or family members. What are the most common things that people are talking to you about that perhaps aren't being spoken about in the wider sense?
A lot of it comes down to a loss of identity, which
Yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar with as well with the work you're doing, particularly for
Mm.
women who've had decades of parenthood balanced with work.
Mm.
Your focus can be very much around your children. So you get to a point where you've got a bit of a perfect storm going on. You
Mm.
reach a point where maybe your children aren't relying on you quite so much, and you've not necessarily coasted in your career, but you've had less of an upward trajectory as you've
Mm.
three parents. And I would say 90% of the women coming to me are parents too.
Mm.
And there is that perfect storm, and it causes a lot of this anxiety around who you are in the world.
Yeah.
And again, against this backdrop of the sort of invisibility and the feeling of you're not really valued as an older
Mm,
person, an older woman, there's a real sense of insecurity and anxiety for the future. So it
mm,
affects the way we think about what are our opportunities for the future. And that's, I think, really important, that we can sit and be able to appreciate all the things that have got us to where we are today. And
yeah.
actually, we've still got to acknowledge that, yes, we're getting older and things change, but change doesn't always have to be bad.
Mm,
And there's a difference in knowledge. And strangely, compared to when I started my business 14 years ago, when people would come to me and they didn't really know much about health, nutrition, well-being, stress management, gut health, all of these,
mm,
it was you had to give much more basic. You had to go much more basic in the way you work
mm,
with people. People come to me now and they know about, they'll come and they're taking their sauerkrauts and their kimchis and drinking their
yeah.
kombuchas, and they want to know about probiotics,
Mm,
olive oil shots and cold plunges and intermittent fasting. But
mm,
again, then we get up into our heads,
yeah.
and with AI now and pumping out across all the socials,
Mm,
just more generic slop around wellness.
yeah.
It's making everyone's heads really noisy, and it becomes very sort of, again, product based questions or
Mm,
protocol based questions. I was at an event, interestingly, last week with, a highly respected scientist and author. But all the questions were on these little tiny, well, what about probiotics? And
mm,
what about, again, the intermittent fasting, all the usual, it's, oh, I've seen this on Instagram. What do you think?
yeah.
And rather than, I always say you've got to be person centric, not product. It's not about the product.
No.
The answer about whether intermittent fasting works for you is about who are you? Are you a
Mm,
man or a woman? How active is your lifestyle? What age
mm,
are you? What amount of exercise are you doing? What's your
yeah.
body type? What's actually your metabolic flexibility at the moment?
Mm,
What's the bigger context of it? Are you trying to lose weight?
mm,
And all of these things come into play before you even can begin to answer a question like intermittent fasting. And then
definitely.
there's so many different ways to intermittently fast.
Mm,
Do you fast for a 3-day period and then once a month, or do you fast
mm,
12 hours? And it's, and people narrow it down to something that's, like a tiny little article in a magazine.
yeah.
Here's 10 things you can do to improve, or a carousel on an Instagram post.
Mm,
And actually, you've got to be more, this is about people. Look at the
yeah.
person, stop looking at the symptoms, stop looking at the protocols, understand
Mm,
yourself as a person.
definitely.
And a combination of, you talked about the self-trust, and it takes a discipline and a practice to
Mm,
build that. People can't just start trusting themselves. And I'm sure
no.
you get that when you'll maybe take someone out to trying on different clothes, and they start to
Mm,
sort of, they'll trust your sort of guidance, and then they'll start
mm,
to trust their own exploration a bit more. Without, we
yeah.
want to stay in a safety zone of what we think is acceptable, and while everyone else is doing it, so that must be okay, gives us that
Mm,
sense of, well, we're doing the right thing.
yeah.
I think being able to break out of that, you can't just automatically trust yourself. But
No.
when you've got some guidance on how to go about that,
Mm,
and for me, in the way I work, it's a combination of self-awareness plus a very judicious use and integration of very specific tech,
mm,
depending on the person, because what that can often do, again, it's about a reinforcement
mm,
of, when feel into how you feel, and then a piece of tech can give you an objective
mm,
reinforcement, an acknowledgement to say,
mm,
actually, the reason you're feeling, I use continuous glucose monitors, for instance, with certain clients.
mm,
You can have them doing a certain protocol and they'll go, do you know what? Actually, I was exhausted by mid morning, or I was feeling a bit sleepy, or I was starving, whatever it might be. When you
mm,
look at something that gives you a more objective measure,
yeah.
takes away the shame, the doubt, the self judgment, and it's just completely objective.
Mm.
And then people can go, well, do you know what? Actually, I felt that. So now it's telling me, I recognize it. And again, that's a little neural pathway reinforcement.
Mm.
Builds your self-trust in your own judgment. So a lot of
Definitely.
people use devices and trackers and wearables all wrong, and
Yeah.
it becomes obsessional. And there's now people are now being treated for an obsession with trackers and wearables.
Mm.
It's not making them better. They're just constantly, they're looking at monitoring it the whole time instead of
Mm.
using it as a tool for better self-understanding and self-awareness so that you can make the right decisions. You can then pick the fewer, it's the 80-20 principle. You pick the 20% of activities that are going to make 80% of the difference because you
Yeah.
know how your body reacts. And
Mm.
that's different to your best friend or your mother or your sister or the celebrity that you've seen on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's different. Your life's different.
Mm.
When you use it as a short-term tool, and I'm pro using things like that for short periods of time to gain
Mm.
awareness and understanding,
Mm.
to drive correct, effective action, rather
Mm.
than, oh, it's really interesting, and oh, actually, it's really cool to have an aura ring or a Whoop band because
Yeah.
it's got Stephen Bartlett's back, and so I'm going to my fuel drinks all day long.
Yeah.
Just his life is different from yours.
Oh,
His body is
totally.
different from yours. And it's very tempting and persuasive to go that route because you think they've
Mm.
got, they've got the same values as you. And it's not all wrong,
No.
but to get real change for yourself, using that tech judiciously with your body's own natural wisdom.
Mm.
Humans have been around for millennia.
Mm.
Tech has been around for a nanosecond in
Yeah.
comparison. And all science is doing is giving our clever brains an understanding of nature.
Mm.
That's all it is. It's just an articulation of what nature has been doing
Absolutely.
since the beginning of time. So, we see science as superior, but it's not. But it helps us as humans who are very intellect heavy
Mm.
to acknowledge what actually our body wisdom, if we just listen to it more, could tell us without the tech.
I think that's the problem, isn't it? That we've become so accustomed to outsourcing our decisions and what's best for us and everything else. And I think, I catch myself doing it as well. And it's quite funny, actually. I was thinking when you were talking about in like a fitness community that I'm in, sometimes we will joke about the fact of, if you haven't worn your watch and put your watch on when you're doing your workout, then did it even happen? Because, it has to be recorded and everything else. And it's like, damn it, I didn't put my watch on. And it can become like an obsession instead of actually thinking about, how did that workout make me feel? Did it give me more energy? Do I feel better for it? I feel stronger for it. And all the things that we should be thinking about, we become obsessed by the metrics, and it's not necessarily the healthiest way to do it. And I think in parallel with what you were saying about, who you are as an individual rather than all of this generic information that we're being served online, is very much aligned with like my own ethos and the way that I work as well. Because I think you can go to ChatGPT or Claude or whatever AI you use, and they can tell you, the best places to shop, and they can probably give you an idea of like what your color season is and, all that kind of stuff. But the reason that people come and have that individualized experience with me is because we start with who you are and your identity and actually treat you as an individual that's completely unique, rather than sitting you in a box and saying, oh, you fit neatly into this. So I'm, this is, here you go. This is what you need to do. It's, completely bespoke and individualized, and it needs to be like that for it to actually stick. And I think it's the same, in every single area of your life, that it has to work, as you said, for your lifestyle, for who you are, for your medical history, for the way that your life is set up on a day-to-day basis. It's pointless you giving somebody advice that just does not fit their everyday reality. And I think that is the big problem with, Stephen Bartlett and other big influencers, that they will give this advice that's, super optimized for this, very unrealistic lifestyle that most people don't actually live. And then they end up feeling, down in the dumps because they can't live up to having, these various different things that they're supposed to be optimizing on a daily basis.
So busy optimizing everything that people are actually forgetting to enjoy their lives.
Yeah.
And we focus, I talk a lot about energy
Mm.
programs. It's kind of central to everything I do. And there's so much focus on physical energy and related to how we look and how much we weigh and all of these things. And people neglect the mental energy, the emotional energy, and what I
Yeah.
call the soulful energy.
Yeah.
Is this inner confidence and fulfillment and sense of purpose and joy
Mm.
and
Mm.
real people in real lives. And actually,
Mm.
health is to make you feel good and to enjoy your life and to sort of realize the best possibilities you possibly can in the future, particularly when it comes to the sort of the audacious aging. It's
Yeah.
opening up possibilities for your future if all of your energy is functioning really well. But this focus on the clinical aspect. So I'm a
Yeah.
scientist by nature, and I need the
Mm.
rigor and I need that as a grounding for everything to have any kind of integrity in what I do. So it's really,
Mm.
really important that that's there as a grounding to get
Mm.
rid of the first layer of tumbleweed health advice, which is just based on nothing at all.
Yeah.
But then an awful lot of the other science that's purported out there, again, is not designed for real women in real life.
No.
It's clinical tests done in a clinical environment. And
Mm.
most of them aren't even done on women's bodies because
No.
women's bodies are too variable for scientific research to work. You
Mm.
need constant so that what you're testing needs to be the only variable. And I say to
Mm.
people, like, you're not a man, you're not a mouse. And the majority of scientific testing is done
Mm.
on men and mice. So we have to take take the science, take the research, but use it as a sort of underlying foundation on
Mm.
which you have to layer on your own female body and your life and the way you want to live and actually
Definitely.
what your values really are, because we neglect that soulful part of our health and
Mm.
energy really badly. And the science behind it is all there.
Yeah.
Science of pleasure and the
Mm.
science of doing what you love and the science of purpose and the science
Absolutely.
of you know, touch and
Mm.
connection, which are all things that no amount of getting advice from Claude or ChatGPT is going to, they can give you this huge, science-based protocol, but it will never understand the human part of
No.
what we're trying to achieve.
Absolutely.
It becomes clinical and people are getting, there's all these, this sort of orthorexia and
Mm.
this crazy obsession with eating so healthily that you're editing out huge food groups, you're
Mm.
editing out big chunks of social life and the way that the things that would bring actual joy,
Yeah.
so health enhancing, because
Mm.
we feel like, oh, we must go to our aura rings are telling us to go to bed by 10 p.m. and only eat this and not
Mm.
that and optimize this, that, and the next thing. And
Mm.
all these biohackers are telling us to get up at 5 a.m. and do a
Yeah.
cold plunge and do a 16-hour fast. And for women, most of that is absolutely not going to work. It's going to make you
Absolutely.
feel awful, no matter how much science there is out there.
Yeah.
It wasn't designed for us.
I actually just came to mind of a conversation that we had before a networking group. And I was saying to you about, various supplements and things that I've been kind of switching and playing around with. And we were talking about magnesium, and you said something that really stayed in my mind about the fact that, again, we are human at the end of the day. And sometimes the ritual is as important as the actual, supplement or whatever it is that you're taking or what you're doing. And that really stayed with me because I think I, at that particular point, had got into that almost like optimization mindset of, why don't you think, the magnesium that I'm taking is the right is the right one, or it's, I need to change it to be this particular type because this is the right one for sleep, and all this kind of stuff. And I got myself in a whole thing. And then actually when I started taking it, I felt worse and it just didn't really agree with me. And then I had the conversation with you and I thought, yeah, like, why am I, there was nothing wrong with what I was doing before. It was just because I had, been fed all of this information and I thought, oh, maybe I'm not doing it right and I need to change things up. And we forget that actually sometimes it's what we enjoy doing. It's like I enjoy in an evening having like a glass of magnesium that's in a drink. I don't want to take a tablet that actually didn't agree with me as well. And it's like coming back to you and like what gives, as you said, what gives you pleasure or joy, and like what's part of your evening ritual or your morning ritual that actually you love. Like I remember you saying to me about, sitting with a cup of coffee and actually making the time for it in the morning. And it's like all these little things that probably aren't being spoken about as much because it's not selling a product or, that kind of thing behind it.
It's so true. Things like there's an awful lot of things in life that bring people pleasure that the minute you say your work is in health and well-being and vitality, they'll say, oh, so you don't drink coffee, you don't drink wine, you don't eat
Yeah.
all of these things. It's like my frothy coffee in the morning is an endless source of pleasure for me and I would never miss it.
No.
And the majority of the wellness industry will be saying, oh, you mustn't. I've had people telling me coffee's poison.
Mm,
Oh, it'll kill you. You look at all the longest living people on the planet and they're drinking wine,
mm,
they're socializing, they're living their lives.
mm.
And the one thing we're so much protocol driven and program
Yeah.
driven and routine and regimen. And I always say to clients, think about it in terms of rituals, not routines.
Mm,
It can completely flip the way you deal with things. And I'm a big fan of magnesium. Most women are deficient. However,
mm.
getting anxious about should I be taking glycinate or should I be taking
Yeah.
citrate and that's exactly the conversation. You are by far not unusual in those kind of
Mm,
questions that I get from people. There's an anxiety around, am I taking the right one?
mm.
Actually, some Epsom salts in a bath with a couple of
Yeah.
drops of, or some beautiful bubble bath.
Mm,
Have a glass of wine if it helps you unwind.
mm.
A huge, if you're, again, you look at your own results in terms of how it helps you sleep or not. I'm not
Mm,
saying that's going to help anybody, but the very ritual of treating yourself to
mm,
something or a beautiful drink, or there's a lovely product I use that's like a magnesium balm. And it's,
mm.
I think, some coconut oil and it's got a touch of lavender and you just rub it on your feet. You
Yeah.
rub a little bit on your tummy at night. And
Mm,
I've had people say that they've really been struggling with sleep. And it's like, I just slept right through the night.
mm,
Trains rattling past the window wouldn't have woken me up.
mm.
But it's a self-respect, a kind of cherishing of yourself. And again, this is when you do something like that, every little act of, I'm going to make myself a beautiful magnesium drink,
Mm,
going to sit back and whatever you might do of an evening, watch something lovely on TV or read a magazine, listen to some
mm,
music, have your lovely magnesium drink. Again, you're just strengthening all those little pathways in your
mm,
brains and your synapses are connecting and you're
mm,
building up an identity of I'm a woman that really respects my body
mm.
and values my health and building that in tiny, tiny little increments through those small acts of allowing yourself to enjoy things.
Yeah.
Because women, we are so self-abusive and we
Yeah.
get to a point, particularly when we've had kids, not through anything deliberate, but a slow over time, gradual erosion of
Mm,
attention on ourselves. And
mm.
then it gets to a point where we become really judgmental and guilty if
Yeah.
we do anything for ourselves. Back in our 20s, we'd think nothing of going to a yoga class or sitting in a spa for a weekend or doing all those
Absolutely.
things, having a lovely night out with the girlfriends. You don't
Mm,
think twice about all of those things that really replenish you as
mm.
a woman. You know, your joy and your lust for life.
Yeah.
And yet you get to a point and you can't see how it happened because it didn't happen overnight. It was a
No,
really gradual erosion that suddenly even buying yourself an expensive face cream seems like a massive indulgence. Because
definitely.
actually, shouldn't you be paying for that trip that your child wants to go to? Or
Yeah.
actually, they need a bigger guitar now. Or
Mm.
actually, oh, my daughter wants there might be some, new gadget that they need for school or something. And we don't think
Yeah.
twice about investing for our kids,
No.
but we don't invest not just money, but time and
Time.
energy into ourselves. And then if we do, we counteract the good it's done by feeling guilty about it and slightly
It's so
ashamed.
true.
But men think twice about investing in themselves. And I often
No.
say we've got to be a bit more, think of ourselves as a bit of a CEO of our own health.
Mm.
And actually, a man doesn't think twice about saying, I'm going to the golf course on Sunday and I'll
Mm.
be gone for 5 hours because I need that. Or I'm
Mm.
going out to the bar tonight with some friends,
Mm.
work. And they don't think twice about investing time, going to the squash court. I'm off to the gym.
Mm.
Whereas women, we do because we need to be home for the kids, or
Yeah.
that's money that could be better spent somewhere else. And it's
Mm.
really important to get a little bit into that sort of higher level mindset and just really like respect your own self, respect
Yeah.
how brilliant you are and how the body that we've got has got us through a lot of challenges in life.
Mm.
Um, and we should be honoring that. And when we've got lots
Definitely.
of goals and dreams and ambitions for the future, you have to invest in the vehicle that's going to get you there. You can't get to
Absolutely.
the future in a clapped out old, out of petrol vehicle. You need
Yeah.
to treat your body the same way.
I think it's really interesting as well because I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier about self awareness. And it's funny as well. I was thinking when you were talking, my husband bought me, I think it's like lavender kind of body balm thing that has magnesium in it for my birthday. And I just put it away in the drawer and thought, yeah, I'll use that, one day. I found it like a couple of months ago, and I started to, because it kind of coincided with having some nice weather and stuff. And I started to, of an evening when I'd had a bath or whatever, rub it into my, lower legs and my feet and stuff. And it was such a nice, as you said, like a ritual of like actually spending time to do that. Cause I just don't, like, I don't, and literally it's 5 minutes. Like it probably doesn't even take me that long. I could, make it longer, but it doesn't take more than 5 minutes to do it. But just as you said, giving yourself that bit of self-care and self-respect and gifting yourself that time to do it, it makes such a big difference to how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your body. And having that gave me some self-awareness of like, I don't make time for these little things. I always used to make time to, moisturize my body and look after my skin better. And I still have a kind of daily routine with my, facial skincare, but I really have neglected a bit doing, little rituals like that of an evening. Or even as you were just saying about having a bath, like I very rarely will take the time to run myself a bath. And, simple things like that can make such a big difference to how we feel about ourselves.
It's so true. And it's those little things that aren't what you said about the facial and skincare. That is exactly what happens with people that we'll pay attention to, not
Mm.
because we feel that we want it for ourselves, because that's what other people see out in the
Mm.
world. Much as I'd still think most women do it for themselves and want to
Yeah.
look great for themselves, not
Mm.
necessarily for other people. But it's really interesting how we do tend to prioritize the things that other people see.
Mm.
The amount that, I was talking to a colleague and she was saying, and you'll probably know the figures more than me, but the amount that people spend on their work clothes or event clothes,
Mm.
it far outweighs what they will spend for the clothes we wear at home are usually the kind of tatty old things that we don't want to be seen outside in anymore.
Mm.
So we prioritize what we show to the outside world.
Mm.
And I'm not saying we shouldn't continue to do that, but actually paying the same attention to those little things that actually isn't what other people see.
Mm.
Rubbing some balm into your feet every night, no one in the outside world is going to benefit from it.
No.
You are just you are really honoring yourself and giving yourself a sense of, again, of self-respect and self-care. And it's not, people think that things like self-care and well-being kind of woo-woo and a bit fluffy, but there's
Yeah.
so much science around, interoception and touch and the value of how we feel about ourselves. And there's a wealth of science that never really gets talked about because it's not
No.
the thing that sells shiny, sexy products in bulk.
Yeah.
But it's so valuable and so transformative when you start applying it in life. And the reason that most health protocols, women that come to me, they might be in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and they've tried, even the ones that come to me, they're younger, they've usually umpteen different approaches to health and different types of things.
Definitely.
And they're informed, they're aware, but they've never lasted. The only way you ever sustain anything in the long term is you have to make it simpler. If you make it enjoyable, then it becomes effortless. And my framework for health is called the Irresistible Health Method. And it's about actually, when you're doing things that really make you feel good, rubbing some lovely magnesium balm or taking a bath feels really good. It's no longer an effort to do it. You sustain it without any effort whatsoever, and the transformation happens effortlessly.
Definitely.
Time and time again, I get people saying to me, I feel like we haven't really done anything, and nothing's been much of an effort. But I look back at how I was 3 months ago or 6 months ago, and I'm completely different. I feel different. My life's different. But it didn't feel hard to get there. It felt almost effortless. And that's a secret that, again, because it doesn't sell expensive protocols and treatments, gets overlooked. And people distrust slow and simple because everyone's out there going, buy this glossy thing, it'll fix you immediately. And we go for the injectables and the simple and easy because it's so persuasively sold to us.
I think that's the whole point, though, isn't it? That of working with an expert, it kind of collapses timelines and it supports you in what you actually need as an individual. And because that person has all of the expertise, it's kind of, I always see it as it reduces that overwhelm and it strips it right back to like, what is it that you actually need? And I think that's, again, another synergy with your role and my role. It's like, that's what you need. You don't need like all of this bombardment of information and all these different ways of doing things. It's just not relevant to you as an individual. And I think one of the things I wanted to talk about actually was, I obviously work with women on that kind of outer expression of their identity, but it very much does start with who they are first, but then it's translated into what they wear, how they show up, and you're working on the energy and the inner foundation. But that obviously then has a knock-on impact on every single area of that woman's life. Where do you see like those two things intersecting? Like, how do you see, what happens to how a woman presents herself when her energy shifts and she's really looking after herself, and what difference does that make in how she's showing up?
There becomes that, again, that because you've started to claim your own authority more from a mindset perspective, you owning your value and your worth better. From an energetic perspective, obviously we'll work on my sort of 4 pillars of metabolic vitality, gut health, looking at your nervous system, looking at your hormones. But you need to be able to personalize all that. Look at your mindset, look at your habits, look at your environment and your identity. It's got to come from inside and something very true to you and your values. And the energy that comes out, again, it comes across those 4 areas of, you're not just showing up with more physical vitality, you're mentally clearer. You can be more decisive. You can be more, there's a clarity around your opinions and your decisiveness that shows, and a belief in your own value. Because again, this feeling of this, again, cultural sort of conditioning of, you're getting older, you're a bit invisible, you're less valuable.
Yeah.
We don't like the way you look. You need to try and look younger, but that's not good enough. You build a confidence in your own ability and your own authority.
Mm.
And again, there's more of an emotional stability because you know that you can glide through the battleground of all the noise going on,
Mm.
very sure of yourself. You don't
Mm.
need to be, because currently most women, that we're moving through the world and we're being hit by those, it's a bit like, I don't really watch The Thing in the Jungle, but I know there's that thing at the end where they're trying to go against all the water and everyone's hurling these balls at them. And that's what it's like walking through life
Yeah.
as an older woman, and everyone's trying to knock you off and tell you you're not good enough. And when those energies inside you are strong and you
Mm.
align them with that soulful part of energy, which is aligned them with your values and what's true to you,
Mm.
you can walk through, and that can be all going on, but you can glide through your life very protected from that.
Mm.
And it's really freeing. And that's after, I think, a lot of women, particularly once they've gone through menopause, there's a sort of big awakening of
Mm.
how much as a woman we've been constrained through the decades,
Definitely.
come to constrain ourselves as a result.
Mm.
There's something very freeing about being able to take back your own power and walk through life with a bit more agency in your own decisions. And again, I refer to audacious aging because you have to be a bit audacious because you're going against the grain.
Definitely.
You're going against everything that everyone else is telling you.
Mm.
And I talk about the 3 Ps, which are really counterintuitive to every other program out there. One is to make it personal. And that doesn't mean personalized, because that's very different. That's about data
Mm.
and you as a data point compared to the rest of the universe.
Mm.
It's about personal to you and
Mm.
personal to your life and your values. I talk about it being progressive. So the power of compounding. Anyone in the financial world knows the power of compounding. You might not see, you go really slowly and consistently,
Mm.
and it feels like you're not making much effort. Over time, the transformation is exponential.
Mm.
And then the final one is pleasurable. And again, the industry thrives on making it hard, no
Mm.
pain, no gain. You've got to
Yeah.
push through. It's got to be extreme protocols.
Mm.
And actually, when you make things pleasurable, you look at rituals and not routines. Those
Mm.
3 things, they're totally counterintuitive to everything that you've ever been told.
Mm.
You've got the audacity just to go, actually, sod it, I'm going to do that, do it
Mm.
my way. You show up in the world so differently.
Yeah.
And because you've got your own sense of self, and it doesn't
Mm.
matter what everybody else is doing.
No.
I don't really care that everyone else is putting things in their face, or they're on the GLPs, and you can tell me till
Mm.
the cows come home all the great reasons why we should all be doing this, but
Mm.
for me that's not true for me. So I can go through life and it's like, I can live with that duality of
Yeah.
opinions, and I can live with all the noise.
Mm.
Sometimes it really annoys me because when stuff is clearly not benefiting people.
Mm.
But when you get that sense of self, I'm
Mm.
sure it's the same for exactly the same when people find their sense of style.
Yeah.
You're no longer prey to all these people who are trying to sell you the latest fashion, or
Mm.
for me it's the latest beauty product or the latest health protocol.
Mm.
Oh, should I be vegan? Should I be keto? Should I be paleo? All of those can work, but you need to do it in a way that works for you.
Mm.
Then once you found that way, you feel really good about yourself and you know it works for you. No amount
Mm.
of other people telling you that you should be on one of these extreme protocols
Mm.
and just wash off you, because you go, well,
Mm.
that might work for you, but it doesn't work for me, and I'm quite happy with the way I'm
Definitely.
living. And it clears out all that noise, so you can actually put your attention to all the great things you're doing as an older woman, because we're all
Mm.
having adventures, we're building businesses,
Yeah.
we're expanding our careers.
Mm.
We're writing books, we're launching events, we're
Mm.
speaking at conferences. We've got lots of really valuable things we want to do in life.
Mm.
We don't need all the noise of
No.
what we should and shouldn't do cluttering us up.
But that's the idea of it, isn't it? With a very cynical mind on, that is the idea of it, to keep you playing small. And as you said, if you can have that courage of conviction to actually, this is my way and it's the right way for me, it does. It's hugely freeing. And the same thing I see all the time with style. It's like, once you know yourself, it doesn't really matter if butter yellow is the color of the season, because you don't care, because it doesn't suit you, and you know exactly what it is that you want to wear and what makes you feel amazing and what's going to give you that, dopamine hit, and what's going to make you show up and give you that glow. You
Yeah.
couldn't care less if that's what everybody else is wearing, because it's that thing, that age old thing of like, I see it as like a marker of progress with clients sometimes, that when we first start working together, it's like sending a WhatsApp message to the group chat, like, oh, what's everybody wearing tonight? What's the dress code, that kind of thing. And by the time we finish working together, it should be that you never need to do that again, because you're so convicted in, this is me, this is who I am, and this is how I'm going to show up. And I don't care what everyone else is wearing, or what the group aesthetic is for the night out. This is me and this is how I'm going to show up. And there's something, so, as you said, so freeing in that. It's almost therapeutic to kind of go through that process. And that's why I'm so hugely passionate about going so much deeper. And that won't be for everyone. Not everyone's ready for that level of depth to the work. And some people are just happy to be taken out shopping and shown some nice things that are on trend. But that's never going to be the way that I work, because I know how powerful it is when you can go deeper. And, it's all about you. It's all about, style is self-expression, in the same way that, health is completely individual, depending on your lifestyle and your medical history and your genes and everything else that goes into it, all of the science behind it. And I think that's been my biggest learning in being a business owner as well. It's everything comes back to that reconnection to yourself and who you are.
Yeah.
What would you like to leave with women as one thing that they can go away and think about, or one thing that you see as really powerful?
It's basically being aware of your own judgment around yourself and where you're keeping yourself small. And then to see energy as, it's like the great multiplier. Your energy and your health, if that's going well, everything in your life gets better. The way people will come and work with someone like yourself, they will come to you with a very different presentation. And your relationships get better. Your ability to work, your confidence in your ability to create a great life for your future. All of these get better when those 4 aspects of your energy are really powerful and solid. And getting into that mindset of really respecting your energy and your health and investing in it, because it's the absolute best investment, because it multiplies everything else that you're investing in.
Definitely.
To take that view of really investing in your own health and energy, because it will multiply everything else across your whole life. When it's depleted, everything else suffers.
Yeah, absolutely.
When your energy and health is low, you're not going out for the social evening. You're cancelling the meeting and the presentation. You're not taking the risk of asking for that next level up opportunity at work, or asking for that investment, or asking for that partnership, or that particular project. All of those things suffer if your energy is low, and all of them multiply when your energy and your health are really solid. So absolutely invest in it, because it's absolutely your number one asset.
Thank you. So we'll end really quickly with the quick fire questions. So can you tell us one item of clothing in your wardrobe that you love the most, and why?
I've got loads that I really like, but I've got the thing that came to mind when I saw that question was, I have a little cropped sleeve white jacket from and it's just one of those things. It's kind of quite funky. So if I'm wearing just an all black outfit from work, I can put that on. It's kind of cream and it brightens and freshens everything up.
Yeah.
Or I can stick it on with a pair of jeans and it smartens it a bit.
Polish.
So it's really adaptable. And every time I put it on, it just makes me feel nice.
I love that. If we opened your wardrobe right now, what would we find way too much of? That's such a common answer to that question.
I am a jeans girl through and through. And again, having things that I can smarten up a pair of jeans that's my basis.
Yeah. And what's an outfit or a trend that you look back on and think, I really regret that, and why?
Do you know what? That's a question that really makes me smile, because when I actually think about it, there are loads of pictures of me when I go, oh my God. But none of them I regret. And what I really think is that I was having a chat with a friend of mine quite recently over coffee, and we were saying we're really glad with the age we are, because we've lived through decades of really extreme styles and sort of 70s and 80s and 90s. It was bright and bold and colourful and crazy, and there were all sorts of awful things that we look at now. But on the other hand, you look now and everyone's very safe.
Yeah.
Because we're following those Instagram influencers who say we need to wear this and that colour goes with that colour and you have to wear this shoe with this trouser length. And then everyone looks the same.
Yeah. It's very dull.
Actually, when I look back at how I've looked over the years, and when you look at it in terms of, is that a great look? We didn't care, because we were being bold and being fun and having a great life. And yes, we were all interested in it, but I don't actually regret any of them.
I love that.
However dubious.
I feel like I need to start getting people to like submit their pictures of their crazy outfits and things like that. I think it would make a really great feature.
I used to make a lot of my own clothes too, so that made it even worse. And as a science student, I stuck out like a sore thumb. I have to say, sea of grey sweatshirts and navy blue jumpers.
I can imagine.
The crazy pop of bright fuchsia pink homemade trousers. So other people would probably say that there's too many to choose from in terms of dubious choices.
Yeah.
But
I would love for you to share where people can connect with you. And I think you've also got an energy assessment that people can do as well.
I have. It's just a really quick free tool, just take 2 or 3 minutes to do. And what it'll do is it's really helpful for people to become aware of those 4 dimensions of energy and where perhaps their energy is, where it's working well, and the areas where maybe it's struggling a bit. Because once you get a bit of clarity about that, it'll give you some personalized focus on where to focus first, depending on what your answers are. So I always think if you can do the 20% of things that make 80% of the difference.
Yeah.
Being focused on what's holding you back the most is a really good first step.
It's really powerful. So, thank you.
The link will be somewhere
in the show notes. Yeah,
exactly. To take.
Amazing. And what's the best platform or place to connect with you?
Well, my website's feelglorious.com. And then on Instagram, I'm Glorious Jules.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
But the other places will all be in the show notes too.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alex. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to A Styled Life. If today's episode resonated, the best way to support the show is to share it with another trailblazer or leave a quick review. And if you're ready to align your style with your next level of impact, head to the show notes to book your free style strategy call. Because when your style aligns with your purpose, the world takes notice.